Hey, how's it going? In this video, I'm going to show you how to solve an inverse function. All right, so we're going to do a little switcheroo here because normally when you put a number into a function, you get another number out, right? So what if we could figure out the function that allows us to go backwards? And that's what this video is all about. So a couple of tips to keep in mind. First is I want you to replace the function notation with y. All right, if you have a typical equation using function notation where you have f of x equals something or g of x equals something, replace y with that function notation. Next, I want you to switch the positions of x and y in the equation. Rewrite the equation so that x and y have switched positions. And then finally, solve for y. Resolve the function until you get something that looks like y equals the rest of the function. Okay? So that's all I have for you right now. Watch the steps that I do, and I'll see you after the video is over. Okay, here it is. Time to do some inverse functions. So first thing I wanted to tell you about with inverse functions is how do you know one when you see one? Well, take a look over here. Here it says find f with a little -1 up here. So this is the way that mathematicians symbolize an inverse function. So what I would do is translate this as the inverse of f of x. All right, so they're looking for the inverse of f of x. So find the inverse of f of x of the following equation. All right, so this is what we've got to figure out. We've got a function here, and I need to find its inverse. So one of the handy facts that's useful in solving problems like this is to keep in mind that, back in the day you guys studied line equations, and instead of f of x, you use the letter y. And that's what I'm going to do to solve this problem. I'm going to replace f of x with y. And if I did that for this particular equation, I would start off with y equals the cube root of x minus 4. Now I haven't done anything miraculous here. I just substituted y in places of f of x. Now the reason why I'm doing that is if I want to find the inverse, I've got to switch the locations of x and y in order to do that. So by switching x and y, I set myself up in order to solve the inverse. All right, so this is what I'm working with right now. Okay, so my goal is to solve for y now that I've switched the two places. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides, and that's going to change the equation to x plus 4 equals the cube root of y. All right, now that I'm at this stage, I'm going to cube both sides. Okay, so raising both sides to the power of 3, that's going to kill off the cube root. That's going to neutralize it because the opposite of a cube root is cubing something. So that just leaves me with plain old y at the end. And this over here stays as x plus 4 quantity cubed. And that's my answer. Now once I've gotten here, one way that you can symbolize inverse if you think, oh man, I don't like this because this kind of looks like the same y as before. You can put like a little mark right here to kind of indicate that you're dealing with the inverse. That's another way that you can symbolize this. But most of the time the problem is so short that it shouldn't be hard to keep track of it. All right, well anyways, now that I'm back at this stage, I'm going to just kind of turn this equation around so that I have it in this order, because this is the more common convention for how to write math equations. And then I'm going to substitute with the proper notation. So I'm going to take out my little y with a little prime symbol there, and I'm going to replace it with the inverse notation. And there is my inverse. All right, so just to review the steps that I followed. First, I replaced f of x with y, and I rewrote the equation with y in place of f of x. Then in order to find the inverse, I switch places with x and y, and I solve for y again. And whatever I get, that's my inverse. So those are the steps. If you need to review the video, please do so. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Okay, you just got done watching how to figure out an inverse. So again, keep in mind that y is the same as f of x. So you can use a little replacement to make it visually easier for you to see this function. Then what you do is you switch the values of x and y. You switch the positions. So that way you rearrange it just a little bit. And then once you've rearranged the function, then what you do is you resolve y. You follow all the different steps to get x on one side, y on the other side, but you want to end up with something that has y equals blah, whatever the result was. And then if you want to make it nice and neat at the very end, you can use function notation with a -1 to symbolize the fact that you found the inverse of that function. All right, that's all I have for now. Watch another video if you need another example, and I'll see you next time.